this is Akovia and I'm back with part 2 of Gimp from scratch. This time we're going to concentrate on scripts and plugins. These can be pretty confusing and I hope to be able to simplify some of it for you. Before we get started, I did want to touch on a couple of the menus that I glossed over by accident last time, and that was the edit and the view menus. Just to finish the tour. So paste into all options you can use. I actually, in my regular setup, I have this as Control Alt V, and I have this as Control Shift V. That'll make life easier on me as I'm showing this to you. But use your own shortcuts or use the menus. I also spoke of the keyboard shortcuts in the first video. So you have your own link here to grab that. So if you want to make your own shortcuts, you don't have the dynamic shortcut menu and you're in Windows. These windows are killing me. You have the same layout as you do up here, and so you can find something easily and set your own shortcuts as you need. You can also just do a search for the command and find it that way. And under the view menu, it's all your guides and your grids and turning on your snaps. Just look through this. There's nothing major here, but I just want to finish the tour like I said. You got shortcuts for zoom levels and so on and so forth, but I always use just pan zoom to get exactly where I want. So I'm never in here and I never use any of these shortcuts. This was another thing. Yep, I didn't realize it dropped it in a tab, but that's what I showed you before as well. So let's get rid of that and go back to our tabs. Alright, so the one thing I did want to show you, I spoke of padding color earlier, and I'll show you how this can be useful. Let's get another image in here. Let's see. I want to get a bigger image. This should probably work. Copy image, and it was Control Alt V. Yes, I can get rid of this one. Close without saving. We can get rid of this too. Alright, and for this purpose I am going to turn off the layer boundary just so I can show you. We get a lot of images uploaded where somebody cropped out an image but the edge still has a little bit where they didn't crop it far enough, and it's hard to see unless you know how to look for it, and the way to look for it is by changing our padding color. So I'm going to select a custom color. I'm going to go ahead and make it all black. Now we can really zoom in and see that these edges are cleaned, which they should be since we took it out of the activity stream, which means it was approved. But when you look through pending, you'll find that a lot of these have bad edges that need to be cleaned up, and we can work on that later. But I did want to show you how to access the padding color. So you can use some of the defaults that they have. I don't find them very helpful. I'm usually going straight to black or white. So on with that. That's done. Let's jump right into plugins and scripts. The difference between the two is a script. Let's look at one, and this will make it a little bit easier. Alright, we've got none in here right now, but I've pulled out a select few, and I'll make these available as well. Let's see. Alright, I'm just going to copy all these over back to our GIMP 2.8 scripts folder. Paste them on in there. Come on. Well, that didn't work out so well. All copy. There we go. Must not hit my key fully. Alright, And here's one that I actually wrote, so let's take a look at that one. And there's nothing hugely special in here, but you should get familiar with these, and I'll tell you the reason here in a second. You don't have to understand what's going on here, but these are just procedures that Gimp offers, and we can set it up. It's basically like recording a macro almost. But the one thing you may find handy is in every script and in some of the Python plugins, you'll have the menu register. There is not a standardized way to add filters to your menus in Gimp. You'll find them all over the place. In our default, everything's under filters, as you'll see here, and under submenus. And that's it. When you start adding a bunch of scripts, you'll find that people make their own menus up here. They'll put them under script foo. You have companies that offer whole packs of scripts, and they'll put it under their own, so it can be very hard to manage. So just being able to know how to change the menu by changing it here, you can place these wherever you want. It's a simple text file, and I could put this under colors if I wanted to. It could be image is the image menu. You can see how this is denoted with the carets here. If you're writing a plugin for a context menu, it would have a different, there it go. It would have a different name here. You will probably almost always just be dealing with image. So you can forget about this. That just means the main menu in Gimp there, and then you'll find this under filters, fan art, when we install it. So we added these filters, or scripts, excuse me, to our scripts folder. Now the way that we can get scripts into Gimp is just by going to our filters menu, script foo, and refresh our scripts. Now you'll see there it added a bunch. Now we have filters under script foo, some under shape paths where we can make shapes. Video basically refers to animation, GIF files. We're definitely not going to get into that. But it's also dropped a few in here as well. Like the one I made is called Alpha Check, and I'll actually show that to you here in a minute. It's just for fan art, but you can use it elsewhere. So let's grab a clear art. There we go. I'll show you where that comes in handy. We're going to copy the image, come back over here, Control V, and I did not get that. Oh, it's the way fan art serves that, I believe. We can do this, copy image URL, file, open location, drop that in there. Let's see if that works. There we go. Checkered background. Let's get rid of that. Alright. So if I want to look at this to see if it was good enough to upload, say I created this, one thing I would like to do is turn off that layer boundary, and I'm going to use my filter fan art alpha check, and that is actually Control Shift 1, no, Control Alt 1, heck, I can't even remember anymore. Alright, so what this does, it gives us a group of background layers to check this against. And when I would be checking this, I would most likely change my padding color to white in this case. So there, we can zoom around, we can make sure nothing's cropped off at the edges, and we can check it and make sure it works against all the different colors. You will find some text, somebody will do red text without a drop shadow, and then it just disappears, any solid color like that. So this becomes a very handy tool and it's just a shortcut away to drop those layers. So that's a utility filter. Alright, so we've got those filters in, and I'll be explaining them as we go and actually start doing work, but this tutorial is based on actually how to get them in. Now, I didn't go into plugins yet. Plugins are different in the fact that they can either be a Python script, but they're still considered a plugin because they're handled differently by Gimp, and they will go in your plugin folders. And you can also have standalone programs that Gimp interacts with. And the most important ones are available in Linux under a package called Gimp Plugin Registry, which is also a site which you're going to want to get used to. Here's the Gimp Plugin Registry, and this holds community added plugin scripts all in one place. It's a searchable database, but it's kind of shoot and miss. You'll find some great scripts in here that have zero documentation, some that are fully documented with pictures and examples and so on and so forth. So this place houses them, but a lot of times you'll find more information on some of the other sites like Gimp Chat. But we can get into that later. But you should be very aware to search for. This is the first place you're going to want to search for a filter or a plugin. So with that in mind, and let me see if I can get the software center here. There we go. I usually do this by command line, but I doubt many users are going to be using that. So let's search for Gimp. It should already start, and we can do plugin. No. How about this? I'm sure it's there. I don't use this software center very often. I think it's hiding it because it's a package and not a program itself. But Gimp Plugin Registry, let's see, all software. I'm just going to get it done for now. I'll look one more time. It could be a recommended package when you install Gimp as well. Let's just look in there and see if it is a recommend. Yes, here we go. You can actually get brushes, palettes, and gradients, so on and so forth. Here we go. Gimp Plugin Registry. That's the one we want, and it will come with the Gmic, this one already installed within it as well. So let's go ahead and apply changes. And this shouldn't take too long to install. But this will give you the most popular and used set of scripts and plugins all in one place. I highly recommend it. The only thing I don't recommend about it is that it decides where everything goes. It will not install it into your home folder where we were looking. Since this is a software package install, it installs it in the system, which would be your program files. And I was reminded after somebody watched my first video, in Windows your home folder is the equivalent to your home folder in Linux is your app data folder. So that's where you will find your Gimp 2.8 folder in Windows. Sorry, I missed that earlier. Alright, so now that that's installed, all done, we can close this. But as you can see, we have no new scripts here and we have no new plugins here. So editing the menu items actually takes super user privileges. Basically you have to enter your password to make any of those changes. So there's upsides and downsides. The one good thing about Windows is most of the plugins will come pre-compiled. So all you have to do is drop them in your folders and you'll be fine. And if you like, since I'm kind of glossing over it here, let's oops, not what I want to do. Let's do this. That's what I want. You can look at what it comes with. This is a Debian package. Here we go. Not very easy to read, but it goes over every one that was installed. And here's a bunch of the scripts that were put in, Gimp masks, liquid rescale, so on and so forth. So if you want to know what the list is and you want to install them individually so that it's easier to put in your menus the way that you want, this will show you everything that comes with the package. Alright, so let's now that that's installed, scripts you can refresh like I showed you. Unfortunately, Python scripts are considered plugins, and all plugins will require a restart. So let's go ahead, actually cancel. Let's save these so we can work on them again. Documents works for now, and we'll close that. Save. Sure, we just need some images to play with for now. Alright, so we're going to close that. We're going to go ahead and close this, and we'll restart it. Alright, so now you can see this is a whole new menu. FX Foundry, they put their own menu and submenus in. Nothing much different that's super obvious right off the bat. So, but we'll be looking into these as we move along in the tutorials. So we can, easy way to bring back open our images that we had before. Just go to your recent files, and we're back where we were. Alright, one of the filters that I want to show you, it's more of a filter pack. It's called Gimp, and this is probably the most powerful plugin that you can get for Gimp. And it alone has its 274 filters with this version. It's updated all the time. But you could spend days just looking through these and seeing what kind of effects that you can get. Some things will have a preview, but by nature some won't. But you can do everything here, change your sliders, and really kind of play around and get creative on everything that you can do. But we're going to concentrate more on fixing images. Let's say enhancement. There's a lot of smooth filters that I use in here to really fix problems on images, and we'll get into those later, but that's the biggest thing I use this for. There are quite a few other ones, but I want to show you Gimp. So, in a recap, filters, or scripts, excuse me, will just go in your script folders or they're text files. You can manipulate them and change them at will if you're comfortable doing so you can put them in the menus the way that you want them. Plugins are a little bit more difficult. I probably should have picked a plugin to install, which I didn't do. Actually, let's go back to File System, Media, Elements, Temp. And this was all the plugins I have in my regular installation. They're not all going to be needed for what we do, but I want to show you so you can kind of understand. Here's the Python scripts, and being a Python script, you can just open it with a text editor and see. And here you go. If you want to change where this showed up in your menus, you can just do it right here. easy enough on the Python scripts. And you can see we have our own exe files as well. Standard, actually, take that back. That's a Windows file that's in here. Anything that's not a Python file is a binary file, so it needs to be executed, meaning it's its own program. And usually all you will have to do is just drop that binary file or the Python script when you find it and put it in your plugins folder. And if you play around on the registry site, let's look at Gimp, which is a batch image manipulation plugin. So a plugin, and you will be able to find, usually you'll have some decent install instructions, and some things are only made for Windows, some things are only made for Linux, most things are made for both. And in Windows, all you have to do is drag the executable, put it in your folder, your plugin folder. In Linux, since there's so many different versions, a lot of times you'll need to compile. If you're lucky, somebody's already done it for you and there's a package you can download. Either way, it's usually not too hard. And looks like somebody did this one, and you found it right here. There's for Windows and Gimp 2.8 64-bit. Somebody already made that for Windows, so that's very easy. And up here, this is where you'd go, and you can download it here. And let's take a look. There's source code, and there's the Windows executable if you do it that way. So we'd actually have to, I've already done this on my other one, but we'd have to build it. And we can do that. I can show that in a totally different tutorial if we need to get into that. But we should have everything we need with our plugin registry. And if you're on Windows, you should be able to just download the binaries individually. You shouldn't have to do any compiling yourself. So that should get everybody up to the same point. And feel free to look in the fanart.tv forums, and I can answer questions if you have there. We also have an IRC channel, and we're happy to answer questions there as well. So if you need help, they're the two places to look. So anyway, now we're kind of set up. We can actually start doing work in our next tutorial. We've got most of the filters we're going to be using in plugins. You should have a basic idea of what your menu system looks like and how to access your tools. And we'll start going into more depth in the next tutorial. Hopefully you didn't find this too difficult or too boring. Anyway, until next time, we'll see you in part 3, and we'll start getting into some work. All right.